All right. What is a reasonable age to start leaving your puppy alone out of the kennel for short periods? I don't truly believe there's necessarily an age. I think it's more of a maturity level and temperament. Yeah, I mean, I have one dog that is a lazy dog, and she's always been lazy, and we've always left her alone. We also have another dog that's super crazy energetic, and she would destroy her home in under 30 seconds of that door shutting.
And she's an adult dog, right?
Yeah. She's 7. Yeah. We don't trust her at all. My dog, we learned howled a little bit, but we got through that pretty quickly. Yeah. So it's more about finding certain temperaments, and a young puppy that's a little bit higher energy, I wouldn't trust that. If I have a more mature dog that just kind of lays around all day long, I would trust them to do it.
Yeah, it really does depend. You could start trying to wean off around the 1.5 to 2 year mark. They start to change a bit and get more mature around the 2 year mark, but don't be surprised if you can't, because like I have one of the sweetest German Shepherds in the world, and she was very, very mouthy. She like a golden retriever. She always used her mouth a lot, and I couldn't wean off of crate with her till she was around 2.5, 3, and it took some real time. And it's not because like other trainers would say, oh, she's being disrespectful of your space, you need to be more stern, I am stern. And it was just and it was really just her loving to have things in her mouth all the time, and now there's no one around, and she would just lay down and haphazardly chew on the cabinet. There wasn't even any real intent behind it. It was just happened to be there. Boredom, yeah. And so anyway, it just took a little longer for her. But my point is just that what he said, every dog is different.
I'm gonna throw one more little nugget in there. People also say, well, I usually just leave my dog outside by themselves. Sometimes that can lead to territorial behaviors. They start defending that large space in the backyard.
That's literally how you create a guard dog, is by giving them space
to defend and territorize. So it's another thing we don't really recommend. I know some people probably do it, no issues.
At least
We're
not in the city.
To you guys. Yeah,
at least
not in the city especially.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, or suburbs.
Perfect.
All right.
Any questions?
Yeah, Gigi the Grug. That's adorable. Gigi wants everyone to play with her. That's so cute. If you want to put in the age that your puppy is, we can give you some guidance on that.
Your
Gigi.
puppy sounds like me.
All right, you want to go?
I got one more small one, then you want to do yours?
Yeah, sure.
All right. From philosophy. Okay. How do I get my puppy to stop peeing indoors? Originally using pee pads indoors. Do you want to take this one?
How do I get my puppy to stop peeing indoors? Well, there's a few things you could do. You could transition your puppy pad to being outside. So you have to keep your puppy pads in a really consistent area if you want to pee pad train dogs or puppies. And then you could gradually move it closer and closer to the back door. Honestly, I'm too impatient for that. That is what we suggest, but I'm way too impatient for that. So if I feel like I absolutely have to use a puppy pad as an in-between, I will let the puppy see me pick the puppy pad up, take it outside, and put it down on the grass, and see if that helps. But I'll be honest, if you're doing a crate structure schedule, which you can DM us to get our crate structure schedule for potty training, if you're doing that, you can just get rid of the puppy pads and start taking your dog out on a schedule, and their natural instincts, hopefully, knock on wood, will kick in and they'll start to want to go outside. You want to create some urgency, so don't be outside for 15 minutes. Go outside, the puppy gets a couple of minutes on leash. I would suggest on leash if your puppy's easily distracted. And then if they don't potty and you know they need to, they go back inside and go in crate for 15 minutes. And then you give them another chance. Then once they've pottied, they get supervised out time, whether that's play, training, a playpen, but it still needs to be some sort of secluded area. The moment you give a puppy under 6 months old an entire room or an entire area, they're gonna look for places and get stimulated by that and then squat and pee. When they're under 6 months old, their brain doesn't have enough time to tell their bladder that they need to go more than like 2 seconds in advance. So it's really up to you to build that pattern, that consistency of going outside for your puppy to depend on. And that's why we like crate training, so because it allows you to do that. You might have a few accidents in the beginning until you learn more about them, but that's what I would suggest.
And Venecita says, that schedule saved me.
Oh,
yes,
yay! Awesome.
It works! One more
so
thing to add to that.
Yep.
If you're doing a play session too, I know she mentioned you have some like supervised like playtime. If you play with the dog, they probably need one more opportunity to go potty after that
like
before
10
going
minutes.
back in the crate. Because you play with the dog for 10 minutes, they're moving around a lot. They're just like us. We move around, we gotta go pee. They move around, they gotta go pee.
I love when you put your personal life into these stories.
They want to hear this. This is what they're here for.
Okay. All right, moving on. Brea Fleming says, hey, I was wondering, what do you do if your dog pees themselves from excitement when you come home? She's a Border Collie, pit mix. She's around 2 years old, so this is not a puppy. This is an older dog. It's just annoying, wondering if there's any way to fix this. Well, you took a deep breath in. Would you like to run with it? You let me answer the last one. Yeah, okay, go.
All right, so we have a couple different dogs that we work with that run into the same thing. As a young puppy, they can't really control their energy, but as an older dog, they have a lot more control over their energy. One of the easiest ways I've always taught clients is to start crate training. And that when you leave your dog, you put them in the crate. When you get home, you ignore them for the first 15 minutes. As long as you're not staying gone long enough to where there's an urgency that they need to get out of that crate and go potty, they don't need that affection right away. It's the affection that over a stimulation that leads to that potty.
Submissive pee. It's called submissive peeing.
It's them getting so excited, so submissive, that, ooh, and they do like a little tinkle right there. Or we have some of our dogs that just unleash the full flood, like the floodgate. So walk in, ignore your dog. Even if you don't want to crate, you could even still just try ignoring them, walking past them like they don't exist.
I have an argument for that.
Let's go, Bethany, I'm ready.
Okay, so he said crate, and I totally agree. You get a brand new dog from a rescue, you need to crate train them first for a lot of reasons that has nothing to do with potty training. But let's say that you don't want to do that for some reason. Maybe your dog is great out of crate and doesn't like crate, whatever your reasoning. Let's say that you're going to leave your dog out. He just said ignore, and I totally disagree. I think you need to address the excitement, which does mean you're going to get piddling for a while, but you need to shut that down. If you're not saying no, then you're saying yes. So what I mean by that is if you just breeze right in the door and you ignore the excited wiggle, I don't think it's going to go away, personally. I think that you need to walk in the door and be like, hey, knock it off, settle down, and freeze. And when the dog does this and does a little tinkle, wait till it settles down. Don't clean up the tinkle right away. I know that sucks, but don't do it. And then take a few steps. And when your dog, it's a dog, not a puppy. When your dog follows you, no, hey, and kind of just freeze, firm stance, have the dog settle, take a few more steps. So by telling your dog no, not to be so excited, and regulating their energy over the course of a few weeks, this should greatly help. And I know you're going to have some tinkling to clean up and maybe even a little tail swipe in the tinkle. I understand all of these things happen, but that's what I would suggest to actually stop the behavior, hopefully within a few weeks. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about them apples?
That was pretty damn good. Because you broke it down a lot farther than I was going to. I do believe personality also plays a role.
Yes,
more energetic dog,
yep.
You're able to shut it down a little bit more because they're coming from a point of confidence. If you have a nervous, fearful dog, they're going to pee and then roll in it. So I don't know. I'm just
sorry.
I come from both sides. I usually ignore it for the first 10 minutes or so, even if they are trying to, not if they're trying to jump. That's disrespectful, and that's something I will shut down right away. But if it's like that nervous dog who just wants to come in and then roll over and then pee all over themselves, I see it all the time.
See, and I would say no, and I would take my foot and I would bump into them and put them up top right.
I would just walk away. And when they eventually start following and getting what I see from there, what Bethany just mentioned, that's when I'll try to work in the way that she has said.
So you want to give the dog a chance.
I want to give them a chance to kind of settle if they're not jumping and being disrespectful, but they're just fearful and like almost like anxious that you left, and now they're just super excited and automatically dismiss it. So two different sides of the bonds, guys.
We'll let you make the decision. Okay, moving on. I saw that.
What?
All right. T-Nas says, hello, I have a Yorkie Bichon named Lily, 8 months old, super stubborn, strong-willed, but so sweet. You don't have to make excuses for your dogs here. I seem to be struggling a lot with recall, reactivity to people. This is why she said so sweet. Reactivity to people and other dogs. She's just super friendly and wants everyone to pet her and play with her, but obviously that's not a safe way to be. Teaching her simple commands. I just appreciate any advice. She is a good dog, truly. It's okay if your dog reacts. I swear, you don't have to go there. We understand. I also haven't been able to find a good training treat that gets her attention. Tina's
there.
Oh, Tina, 8-month-old dogs, stop using treats to try to get their attention. You're redirecting excitement to more excitement. And then they take the treat and then they're still trying to bark at someone and be excited.
Or they ignore it altogether and it just doesn't have enough value.
And then it devalues your whole existence, okay? This is an 8-month-old dog, everybody? Everybody understand that? This is not like a 16-week-old dog, so it is different advice for dogs that are younger. So let's just be clear on that. 8-month-old dog, just stop using so much excitement and just have a strong, confident walk. And every time your dog pulls out, this is your dog, by the way, pulls out ahead of you and alerts, those ears go up, try to catch it before the bark. If they're friendly and not aggressive, you might get a better window of time. But either way, it's the same advice for either situation. And you go, let's go, and it's not like, let's go, yay, I have food. It's let's go, and you turn and move in the opposite direction. Take control of your walk. Cross the street assertively. Bubble out and around. Eventually, that's your goal. You want to be able to bubble out and around people and dogs. But for now, just switch directions and confidently, let's go, we're moving. Nope, let's go. And that's kind of more your energy. Let's try that and see how it works for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And then when you get a little bit more control over your dog's emotions and you know when to interrupt that cycle of arousal, and your dog hopefully will calm down at least a little bit, then you can start to see about adding a food redirection in to create some good habits, but you may not need to. Your dog has to stop seeking value in everything else. So you need to become more relevant.
The sole focus.
Yeah. So thresholds, front door, any excitement, no. Cut that out. Like, do some blocking, move in a little bit. Be more assertive with even a cute little 8-month-old dog. And just hopefully some of that stuff kind of starts to help you. It sounds like you're already doing a lot of great obedience work and food work. What you need is to kind of maybe scale back on the excitement and up the firmness of your training. And then when you do that and you reach a good point, then try to find some balance. Everybody wants to, if I just add some firmness, I can still do all my food work. But that just doesn't cut it a lot of times. Usually you've been doing so much excitement, not you, but people do so much excitement work that they actually really have to cut a lot of that out for a while, really work on being a more assertive leader, guidance-based leader, and then when they get in a good zone, they can add back in some of the food work, some of the excitement, a few pets, things like that, because your dog will see you as more valuable. Do you have anything?
No, I love the bubble out part. I actually want to go into a little bit more detail on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So your mix is Yorkie Bichon.
Yorkie Bichon.
Both incredibly stubborn breeds.
Yeah.
They're
it's basically a working breed that kills small animals mixed with like a circus dog.
Yep.
Way to go.
So the reason I bring that up is sometimes if I get into a situation with a mix like that, they tend to get stubborn, especially if they're reactive and wanting to go say hi and barking. So when I turn and I use the energy, let's go, they're like, they put on the anchors. They don't move. Put on the anchors. They don't move. So then you almost gotta like drag them out, pick them up, and move them out. So I like what Bethany said, bubbling out. The let's go, the walking with purpose. That's a phrase that we use in a lot of our lessons. Is let's go, and kind of get them out of the situation. But for a dog that drags, it's harder to do that. Bubble out before you see the people. And then that bubble...
you mean before they get close?
Yes, before they get close.
Not before you see them. That's impossible.
Before they start reacting, they start pulling. You'll know that window because you've been in that window a couple 100 times by now, I'm sure. So you see the person, you already see the look from your Yorkie, Bichon mix. That's when you start bubbling out, move around. And then eventually that bubble gets smaller and smaller. And then right next to them,
over time,
and you can walk with over time, and you can walk with purpose past them without your dog stopping to say hi to every single person.
Now, I would say, just to add to that I think is really important, that sometimes I forget to say. We always talk about it when we're working with people, but it's easy to forget to say this. Make sure you're putting yourself 99% of the time, put yourself between the distraction and your dog. So if my dog walks on the left, I am already going to be looking for roots when I see a dog or a human to make sure I can put myself in the middle. That way my leg actually moves in towards my dog, like, hey, we're moving this way, to kind of offset where they're looking, so you're taking control of the walk. I know that's not always possible. Usually we say if that's not possible, that's when you want to just do a turn and get out of there if you can. Obviously, if you have a freeze up dog, I forgot about that. A lot of dogs do the freeze up. They're like, what do you mean we're leaving?
Like, no, we gotta say hi. Hold up.
But try to just keep that in mind, because that's gonna change your whole world when you start taking control of your walk, and you start deciding where you go, when you go, how you go. And it naturally starts to put the dog more into follower mode, which is honestly pretty hard for a Yorkshire Terrier in general, but just try.
They want to lead the pack. They're 4 pounds, but they want to lead.
Oh, you want to go off yours?
No, if you got
yep, I got stuff. Sydney Scott says, how to stop your dog from grabbing things around the house that they're not supposed to have. It's around 8 months old. Do you want to take that one?
Leash them up. Put them on a leash. They don't get free roam of the house if they can't control themselves.
Yeah.
Most young dogs can't. 8 months old, that's bordering on an adult dog, or at least older adolescent dog.
You're right at the super pushy stage, 8 to 12 months, 14 months, and it's
they're gonna start pushing some boundaries. So
even if you've weaned off leash, it's like you go back to leash.
Yeah. A lot of things that we tell people from 4 to 6 months, they got a 2-month window in between going back to everything they did at 4 to 6 months.
That's
but you just don't have to do it as long.
Yeah.
You just don't have to do it as long.
Yeah.
Usually it'll take me 2 months from 4 to 6, or less than that, probably maybe 12 weeks all the way to 24 weeks, something around there, to where I'm really, really on top of structure. And then I get this golden window to where 6 to 8 months, we're like, oh, look at this. This is the dog we wanted. Yeah. And then at 8 months, they're like, what happened? they revert. Not because they're actually reverting, they're testing you again. They hit that next stage of adolescence. They say, well, I've done so well up until now. What can I get away with now? Because we get lax. Our dog does well. We give more privilege. And then the privilege kind of comes back to bite us. So we don't take it away, but we structure them like we did in the beginning, build them up, leash them up again, and then you'll find that window to where they're doing better, and you can kind of pull back again. You just have to, there's a balance. If I give one thing, I take something else until I find that balance and they behave.
Now I'm going to point something out to scare everybody. So we always say, put your dog on a leash, stop giving them free roam of the house. Start being preventative and teach your dog rather than being, active on the back end, because problems are happening and no one listens to us. That's why we're in business all the time.
I know, you guys pay for my car. It's great.
Oh my God. So anyway, just so you know, I do understand how hard the advice that he just gave is, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what you need to do. It's probably what almost all of you need to be doing. Because let me paint a scenario for you. We don't just work at Puppy Academy. We do dog training outside of Puppy Academy as well. And you know what we see from the 2-year mark to the 4-year mark? Reactivity towards the door, aggression, biting things up on the counter that has to be split open for $3,000 to pull out, like a sponge or bones from a cooked chicken.
$3,000 is a small dog. Big dogs are like 6 to 8 usually.
And so when we give this type of advice, that's our knowledge. That's where we're coming from. Because we know what I had a dog over COVID that I got alerted that, no joke, ate undergarments and ate a wire that had to be split open for. So these are serious things that we're thinking. When we give advice, those are all the things we're thinking of. We're trying to be preventative of all this stuff, and nothing may ever happen. But if you want to teach your dog how you want them to behave, stop trying to correct after the fact and get preventative to teach them how you want them to be in the home, which requires a leash, being kind of tethered to you whenever they're free. Also teaching place duration. That's the other thing, so they can eventually go to a spot and hang out when they're not being supervised on a leash with you, and teach those rules and boundaries in your house that way. It's a lot of work, but it's the next 10 to 15 years of your life with your dog. So look at it that way. Okay, moving on.
That was pretty good. See what you did there.
Yep. Time with Turk. You mentioned if your dog jumps on you, it's disrespectful. What would you do? Oh, time with Turk. Hey, 6-7 months old. We've got you in 2 spots. Time with Turk. There we go. Dog jumps up on you, it's disrespectful. What would you do then?
Well, I think spatial pressure is a big one. So either we can step in, be firm, tell them no, and then redirect that focus to something else. You address, redirect, or correct. You want to add something to that, Bethany?
Yeah, I really like that though.
She's like shaking.
Well, but wait though, what did you just say? That was good. That was like a, I don't know, like a meme, like a dog training meme. Address, redirect,
or correct.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've got the address. So you address it, but you don't redirect right away with an older, like 6 months and older dog. You want to address it, spatial pressure. Hey, no, move in, and freeze. What's the dog gonna do? Is it just gonna jump on you again? Because I don't want to redirect that kind of energy in an adolescent dog. But if the dog settles and he's like, whoa, you just claimed my space for a change. Whoa, what do I do? If they settle, then dog, let's go, come over here, here's your toy, lay down, play, I mean, whatever. You redirect to something else. That's what I wanted to point out, is that important pause in the middle. Puppies are a little different. Usually with puppies, it's like, hey, knock it off, come over here, right away. There's no pause.
You're teaching new behaviors.
Yeah.
Older dog, you're then correcting and then helping them understand different behaviors.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a difference between soft spatial pressure of just, not soft, that was a bad word, but just soft is a bad word. Anyway, you don't just move in softly or move in a correction mode. It's kind of this in between of just like you're moving with purpose and claiming space. If that's not enough, that's the addressing. If that's not enough, what he meant by correction is you actually bump them off of you. If I turn my back and they jump on my back, I'll turn and bump into the dog. Now, let's be super, super clear. We all know the whole old school, like knee punch, up at the dog. That's not what you need to be doing. There's a huge difference between that old school, and I just say old school because that seems to make everybody remember that really old school advice. There's a huge difference between that and what we're talking about, which is if the dog is here and kind of bumps into me, I just bump back. And it's not this knee up attitude. So I do want to be super clear about that.
Knees can hurt and damage bodies.
Tracheas.
A firm bump will push them back and help them respect your boundary. You are setting your boundary just like they're trying to set their boundary. They jump because they want to be in your boundary. You reinforce it, you make it more solid, they learn to back off. I got one more before we move on too. So
well, I was just going to say he just said that they jump because they want to be in your space, and I was just going to add to, I said but that was the wrong word. And they want to be in your space, and has it been allowed? Have you
we promote it?
Have you let it go? Have you been okay with your dog, putting your legs up, their paws up here and petting them? Has members of your family let it go even though you don't like it? Have you let it happen to guests because you're uncomfortable? So you got to be consistent.
Dogs don't generalize.
Yeah, choose
what happens for one happens for all.
Yeah, or maybe like I would say when they get to be more mature, sometimes you can be like, okay, you can jump up on me on cue, like a trick. But you can't do that as puppies. You gotta be consistent. So I
taught my dog a double tap of the shoulder. It has to be this though, and she'll give me a hug.
Dusty does that too. I like this. Yeah. I like this aspect of it.
It's because when you do this just feels weird to me. But this, that's like
wow.
That's good.
I thought you did it from some cool like trainer, like dog communication. But you just did it because you're uncomfortable with it.
You guys do Stacey's question?
Oh yeah, Stacy. All right, Stacy, you're up.
Wait. One more before we move on.
What?
Another one is I like leash. They need to drag around a leash.
Oh yeah, we forgot about leash.
Leash is a huge one for us.
Leash.
It's everywhere.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
Okay, that's it.
Use a leash. Don't let them jump. Pull away. Blah blah blah. Okay, go.
Leash, pressure, out, away from you. No. Okay, Stacy Blanche. Stacy Cheeky Blanche. That's so cute. Okay, anyway. We have a 5.5-month-old female. Sometimes at the park at bedtime or initially just playing nicely, she flips a switch and goes ballistic, jumping, biting, barking. We've tried to get her in training mode when that happens, or into a sit. Ooh, I'm so glad you put that because that's not what
dogs or
that's not what you want to do. It sounds like the human, but it's getting very frustrated and frankly a bit terrifying. Any help would be appreciated. I pay attention to a lot of your content. and everything you're doing on IG on the blog and on the blog. It looks like you either have like some pitty or Labrador mix, and both of those breeds would make a lot of sense if that's the struggle you're having. Can you see that?
Looks like a pitty to me.
Yeah, a pitty or a lab.
Big chest.
And both of those types of dogs would definitely be prone to this. So 5.5 months old, that is pretty young. However, we've seen 5-month-olds be out of control. Okay, so it's not like we have a few of them. It's not like your dog is just the one-off. I would say if you're using a harness, maybe look for a type of tool that gives you control of the head. That would be the most important thing for me, and not a flat collar. There are lots of training tools out there, from slip leashes to other things, that I would definitely look into learning how to use. I think that's going to be really important for you. The other thing is, how are you playing with her? Because if you're like, yay, good job, go get it, yes, come, good, sit, woohoo. No. So it needs to be all like, dog, come, good, sit, down, good, maybe food after that, calmly. Change your whole body language. Before we talk about correcting bad behavior, we want to make sure you're not accidentally sending types of signals. Even video yourself. Set up a video camera and watch yourself. Are you moving really lyrically and really smoothly and prettily? And are you doing this too much? Yay! So that way you can really make sure you're moving more robotically, crisply, firmly, good, even when the dog is having fun. And if you're playing, I would say, do you have a really excellent drop it? Because if I don't have a really good drop it, like at the drop of a hat, no pun intended, then I'm not playing fetch with my dog. I'm purely working on tug and drop it. I'm not going to throw, because fetch is practicing hunting things down and bringing them back. So I'm not going to practice that if I don't have an excellent drop it, and then my dog lays down between each time. So maybe you just need to slow everything down, slow your energy down in order to keep from that escalation happening. I would say that would be my advice. Do you have anything to add? I want you to talk about the park stuff.
Story. That's what I was going to.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Story time! Yay! So, okay, we had a very energetic lab that I worked with like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and in front of me, the dog literally jumped up and bit the owner, older gentleman, and it literally tore his skin. He started bleeding on the spot. And this dog landed and just sat there smiling, like trying to get their attention.
Friendly, out of control
Incredibly,
dog.
no malintent, but it was an over-energized dog. I said, I just want to see what you do. Show me how you work with this dog. He throws a toy, lots of energy. Come on, bring it back, bring it back. He needed none of that. The dog was going to bring it back either way. So he calmed himself down, put a long leash, or I put a long leash on the dog, and it was a big, thick dog, so I put it on the flat collar, not a prong collar, because you don't want a long leash on a prong collar. She's talking about if you're just like playing with the dog and they have it, but you can attach a leash, or you're holding the leash so they don't get tangled and step and self-correct. But eventually, just on the flat collar, the dog would run out, come back, bring the toy. We would step on the leash when it got close to us, and then the dog would try to bolt away and like keep away, and then jump at the owner and snap in between. We literally just waited for the dog to hit the end of the leash, 2 feet of leash, so it's not like he was running far.
They're stepping on the leash. They're stepping on the leash.
Dog realized he couldn't get away, instantly laid down and dropped the toy. I went to pick it up, he picked it up.
Calmly.
I held calmly, waited him out, he dropped it, and I kept my foot on that leash until he would settle on side butt, not middle butt, which is like spring butt. They shoot up.
You know how they relax? Like that.
Very leisurely. You want that leisurely side sit or side down rather than the middle butt, which is going to spring up like a spring butt. Yeah. So I like that spring butt, side butt. I like that.
Spring butt.
Use it, spring butt. So that's how you know you have a calmer dog. And then he would even hold the toy for an extra 10-15 seconds, take his foot off the leash, dog popped up, he would do it all over again. So that dog could settle, take a breath, and look at the owner.
Takes a long time.
And then he would say fetch and throw the toy. It took 15 minutes on the first round.
Yeah, and that's without a correction. That's purely by doing management of the human and management of the dog. Obviously, you could correct bad behavior. We're not going to get into that, but this is your foundation. You never want to accidentally be building your dog up and not realize it, and then try corrections, because you're going to get into a cycle of a mess. Also, I'd just like to mention really briefly, someone, I think it was our first question, asked about reactivity for an 8-month-old. Excitement reactivity. I would re-listen to that question. because a lot of those tips about how to move around things will be really useful to you. Okie dokie, we are way over. We're 2 minutes over and we're getting in trouble. So I'm really sorry if we didn't get to you. I think we didn't have a ton of questions, and then we ended up going over.
We get in the weeds.
So get in the weeds. I love the weeds though. The weeds are fun. Okay guys, so we'll see you Wednesday next week, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And
thanks for joining us, guys. Again, you can throw in your
much.
questions in. You can post them ahead of time in the chat or
direct message. Just direct message and comment. All right, thanks.
See you guys.